I would, right now, the biggest concern that's hitting social media is that ICE will be at the polling stations. I heard the supervisor of elections from Sarasota County last night reiterating to a group, it's actually against Florida statute for any policeman, federal, state, county, local. A policeman cannot enter a polling station, cannot be within 150 feet of a polling station. Know your rights, know your rights, and I hope that you can overcome the fear that is understandable and go to the polls.
I really appreciate that question. For Black Floridians, freedom has to look like, has to be, we have to be liberated in all realms of our existence. We have to be unchained physically, mentally, emotionally. I think we have to, and much of it, I think, is on us. We have to empower ourselves. We have to empower each other. We have to have a spirit. And that's why I say we need to go back and fetch our past. If we go back to the 50s and 60s, when there was solidarity among us, to me, that leads to freedom. So I think what we have to do is we have a collective responsibility to each other. And I can't be free if my brothers and sisters are not free. So while I may have had some opportunities that others have not had, I look at it as my responsibility to to ensure that my brothers and sisters also are free. I think that here in Florida, again, I'm going back to the anti-woke. And I don't know if you know, I know I'm dating myself, but I can remember in the 60s when we would say, stay woke, my brother, stay woke, my sister. And the musician Lead Belly was back in the 1930s came up with the term woke in one of his songs after the Scottsboro Boys, which was a group that was accused falsely of raping white women. And they were jailed and so forth. And so Lead Belly it was sort of a friendly alert to each other to say stay woke, and avoid lynching and all of that. So here we have the governor of the state of Florida who has taken a term that that originated with us. We coined the term, and you take that term and you co-opt it, you twist it, and then you make it something very negative. So I think we, in the state of Florida in particular, we have to be vigilant about these anti-woke, these so-called anti-woke, anti-DEI bans. And check this out. Even when the bans are appealed in court, and we're not supposed to be moving forward. For instance, telling teachers what they can teach. The appeals courts have said you can't trade a salary for somebody's freedom of speech. So even when we're not supposed to abide by some of this, we self-censor and we over comply with laws that we're not even supposed to, that are held up in court, yet we still act as if it's law. So we have to be the anti-woke, anti-DEI. And the other thing, don't rely on the media to teach you about the law. Read the laws for ourselves. And those of us that are attorneys, we have another responsibility to school each other on what those laws mean and what's the status of those laws. So again, that's the biggest thing that's impacting us, the anti-DEI, anti-woke laws, because universities, public schools are compliant, because what are the threats and the sanctions? We're going to withhold your state and federal funding. And they're scared. It's impacting me on my job every single day. And I'll leave it at that.
get involved in both?
I would say put out more knowledge, right? There are times where we just don't know. Like we literally just don't know. Some people don't know where to go to and vote. Some people just don't know what to do. So we could just pulling them in and saying, hey, like, are you registered to vote? When are you going to vote? Do you need a ride to go and vote? Small things like that allow me to be in the know of things.
Well, thank you for that. So I just heard the word educate. And I tell people all the time, you don't know what you don't know. And for a young person to sit there and tell us they just don't know, who is that on? That's on us. And we need to do better by educating our young people. So now we're going to go to Ms. Sonny, and I'm going to give you more than 2 minutes because you're on the end. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes on this one because I truly want to know your answer for this one. How do we move from surviving to thriving?
Wow, that's a powerful one. There's a quote that is attributed to Harriet Tubman. The quote is, I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if they don't know what they were saying. How do we move from one point to the next? It is honestly looking at ourselves in a very open and transparent, authentic space, realizing where we have fallen short, and then fixing the shortfall. Most of y'all who know me know that I shoot from the hip. And I think the biggest thing in the African American community we struggle with is divisiveness, division, and the inability to come together. We find comfort in standing on opposite sides of the fence, and discomfort in joining hands and fighting the battle together. And until we get back to a space of, I'm 70s baby, I was born in 1975, but I grew up, I'm from Jamaica. And so in Jamaica, and I go home often, in Jamaica when it's election time, we come together in droves. And we are one band, one sound. And I'm struggling to understand why we are not one band, one sound in today's age. I listened to my young brother beside me, and he talked about freedom. And I heard him when he said, allow me to be free. I want the wisdom of the older generation. Like, we need that. I want you to show me the way, but let me walk my own path. And don't fight against me when I'm walking it because my steps don't look like your steps. The only way we can get from one point to the next instead is simply by doing away with the barriers of our mind, doing away with the egos, doing away with the airs, and coming together and say, let's get the work done. Because when one fails, we all fail. At the end of the day, we failed when we allowed President Trump to get in office. We failed. We continue to fail until we get together with a unified front and say, this is who we are moving forward. I talk to some folks and they say, it doesn't really matter whether you're on one side of the fence or the other, but the other side consistently has a bench. They have groomed their folks when they come out the womb. Meaning, sir, you are 6 months old, but you're going to be state senator by the time you turn 31. And we are consistently failing in the grooming because we do not have a succession plan. And so I encourage us to get tighter with the succession plan. And not be afraid of the radical young folks that's coming up. Because some of us older folks was radical. And it's okay to receive them in their radical mindset and support them in the path forward. Grab their hands because they're going to pull us as we pull them.
And thank you for that. Now, I am trying to be very mindful of this for time, and I have a schedule in front of me. She wanted me to close the prayer at 6:50, and we are at 6:45. I do have additional questions because we do have so much knowledge sitting here at this table. And there's so much that I'm sure that they really would like to say that I did not give them the opportunity to say. So we're gonna go ahead and go back to that.
Yes, yes,
So I'm gonna ask another 2 minutes from each of you. There was
yes.
something I'm sure that is laying on your heart in regards to educating those in the room, in regards to voting. We're not telling anybody how to vote,
Right.
who to vote for, but there's something on our hearts that we need to share in regards to what is important about this voting process, which is why we are here today. And so, you know what, Augusta, since you ended on such a powerful note, I'm gonna let you take your 2 minutes to just share something that you would like to sow a seed in us in regards to the importance of voting during this voting education time.
Thank you so much, Councilmember. You know, the last thing I think that I want to land with and what I say to my 27-year-old and my 34-year-old. It doesn't matter whether you're 18 or 88. Our job when we wake up, when we go through our day-to-day, when we close our eyes, is to ensure that we are educating each other and others on where we need to land as a community, as a neighborhood, as a family, as church brothers and sisters. Because every single time we fail to do that, it affects us in the long run. It is imperative for us to move past political parties, move past who you like and who you don't like, and move towards what is best for the community. And until we get there, we're going to continue to fail.
Thank you so much for that. And that is Ms. Esther L. Sani, the president of the St. Petersburg NAACP. Thank you for that, Ms. Sani. Mr. Christian Davis, your 2 minutes on what it is that you want to tell us, especially us grown folks, as a young black man living in today's society, who understand the importance of voting.
Going based off what Ms. Esther just said, she basically said, if, and I'm gonna go on my part in that area. We as young people have to ask questions. We do. We have to research. We have to go in and actually see. Because there's information that's passed and it don't even make no sense at all. And they don't read it, they don't understand it, so it is what it is. There's been times when Trump was running against Hillary Clinton, they were like, I don't like either of them. Okay, get out there and do what you have to do and read what each person got going on and figure out which one is going to best fit you, which one is going to best fit your kids, your mom, your dad, whoever, right? Not getting out there and voting is not helping you because now that someone's in the office that you don't want to be in the office, you in here complaining. Like, your voice matters. Get out there and do what you have to do. Get out there and get your friend out there to do what they got to do. Get out there and do what you have to do so that you can vote. Your voice counts.
Great.
That is Mr. Christian Davis, who is also a young adult steward here at Greater Mount Zion AME. Dr. Walker.
So my last two points are, one, when I go back to the past and think about Rosa Parks and others who engaged in civil disobedience, I think we as a people need to do more of that. But here's the thing, and I had conversations with Linda Brown of the Brown v. Board of Education. She was a little girl lead plaintiff on the Brown case. So I had conversations with her before she passed, and her sister who's still living. And one of the things that they're so clear about is the intentionality of that civil disobedience. So their dad, Oliver Brown, was handpicked to be the lead plaintiff. Why? Because he was beyond reproach. He was beyond reproach, and they wanted that lead plaintiff to be someone that was beyond approach. And when you think about Rosa Parks and you think about, so I think we need to be more intentional. And then the last point that I want to make is something that I've been struggling with, and I think that we as a people have to have a self-reckoning, and it's around Black Lives Matter. And we have to, if Black Lives Matter, as we say, and we know it does, I was just as outraged about what's going on with the young man Nolan Wells as I am about Pastor Dames had on last Sunday, had Jaden Law's dad at church, the young man who was killed in the dressing room at the Brandon Mall. Why is it that we're more outraged when Black lives are taken by white lives? If Black lives matter, we should be just as outraged. So those would be my 2 points, the intentionality, and then I think we have to have this reckoning among ourselves.
Thank you. And that is Dr. Willie Walker, Esquire, Professor at University of South Florida. Next, we have Ms. Ruth Hemminger.
I sat here listening to Dr. Walker saying the results of a 50-year study showing while maybe the chains are not as physical as they once were, the chains are there. And power has already come after you, and they are coming after your daughters, your granddaughters, your children in the schools. I do as much as I can to try and educate. We need to be in league together. The only way to respond to power is to gain power by being together, by being the community that this young man was suggesting we need to have. I thank you for welcoming me this evening because I need your voice as much as anyone else's, if not more. Because when they come after your daughters, they're going to come after mine. So whatever I can do to help educate, encourage, and be a part of being in league together with you, I want to do that and hope that we can be strong together. Thank you.
So next, we have Ms. Ruth Harrison, President of the League of Women Voters, Manatee County. Bishop Sykes.
Well, one of the things that stood out for me is when my son told me when he was in 12th grade about they sort of had a pre-registration uh, for their vote, the right to vote. And then when he turned 18 and became eligible to vote, I took him to the poll with me and gave him that sense of empowerment that I received when I was younger. And I watched my mom, my grandmother, they could be on canes and they'd be in those lines voting. The impact of me taking my son was to activate in him that sense of obligation and also power when it came to the ballot. Another thing, though, that troubled me, and I had to look at it intently, was how did Florida get to the place where you had a supermajority in the House and the legislature, which will which will limit the ability of a Democratic governor to activate various strategies and policies that are supposed to be fair to everyone. And just looking it up, it says Florida's transition from a top swing state to a solid Republican stronghold features a massive voter registration advantage. That transition is not based upon population, it is based upon registration. And so the shift that has put us in the position we're in, where they can literally eliminate congressional seats and so forth, is based upon our lack of voter registration. Right now, there's about, it says, I think it says about 4.1 million Democrats and 5.5 million registered voters from the Republican Party. So, one of the fundamental tasks we have is to help our people understand that the margin of difference is based upon our inactivity in registering. Also, we need our people to understand the deadlines to be able to vote in elections. Because if you don't know the deadlines, it really doesn't matter if you register, you'll be turned around at the polls. So certain key things like that, as well as helping people to understand where is their legitimate voter registration office, because the scare tactics have people afraid to go to places they once did to register. They have to be identified. This is a place you can register. You don't have to worry about DeSantis' secret police or anything else coming in and crashing the party. You are legitimized, and that's something that our people don't know. But keep in mind that the vortex of this shift has to do with voter registration efforts, and that's what we got to catch up with.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Sykes, pastor of Bethel Community Baptist Church, St. Petersburg, Florida. Ms. Ruth Harrington, president of the League of Women Voters,
Yeah.
Manatee Chapter. Dr. Brenda L. Walker, Esquire, professor at the University of South Florida. Mr. Christian Davis, the young adult steward and so wise for his age, Greater Mount Zion AME Church. And Ms. Esther L. Stein, St. Petersburg president of NAACP. Please give them a round of applause.
Yeah.